All right, so now we will consider GEDSI specifically in the ocean application process. As noted, there are two pathways, community grants and partnership grants. So for now, mostly I'll be speaking on components that apply to both community grants and partnership grants. So I encourage you again to check out the complete applicant guidance as well as the GEDSI ambition and applicant guidance document, both of which are on the website. Community grants, this is for stage one, so the first component of the application project. Community grants have an application, which we are calling the concept note. We'll also have a theory of change, and there's a template available for that as well. And then partnership grants for stage one, there's an application form, a theory of change, and then there's a few other components that you'll be asked to submit at stage one. So I would recommend looking into those and seeing where you might be able to highlight your GEDSI approach throughout your work plan, your log frame, your team CV. So that would be highlighting if any team members have particular experience or expertise on gender equality, disability inclusion or accessibility, and social inclusion, as well as your budget. And that would look like including budget lines for any GEDSI activities, things like that. Partnership grants will also be asked to submit a project risk framework, lead organization's safety policy, lead organization's GEDSI policy, as well as the lead organization's equal opportunities and diversity policy. Please note that those policies are at the organization level, not just for this specific project that you're applying for. Okay, in looking at the application, so again, I'll focus on the components that apply for both community grants and partnership grants. So first, there is a specific question on GEDSI. For community grants, this is question 4.6. For partnership grants, this is question 4.9. Looking at gender equality, disability, and social inclusion. You'll be asked to explain how your project will contribute to promoting equity and equality between individuals of different genders, disabilities, and social characteristics, as well as to describe how your project will consider and accommodate the needs of different genders, age groups, people with disabilities, and other social characteristics in a way that contributes to poverty reduction and social equality. So consider again that the key components of ocean are poverty reduction, multidimensional poverty reduction, marine conservation, GEDSI, and climate change. We recommend that you refer to the scoring criteria that can be found in the guidance documents and demonstrate both in this question and throughout your application more broadly how your project is going to meet these requirements. Okay, so some things you can think about as you are answering your GEDSI question, and this comes back to the key considerations we discussed previously, as well as some of the components from the GEDSI analysis that we discussed. So you might want to kind of ask yourself, in what ways will you include the target beneficiaries as stakeholders? What barriers to access and participation have you identified? How will you address those barriers? How do you plan to identify and meet the reasonable accommodation requirements of stakeholders and community members with disabilities? How will you ensure that activities and benefits of your project are equitably accessible to targeted beneficiaries? Does your team have GEDSI experience and expertise? What GEDSI analysis has been considered, conducted, or will be undertaken? What do you hope to learn? So these are just a few things you can be thinking about as you're answering this question. You're not necessarily required to answer each of these sub-questions. And being mindful of the word limit. Please share with us the main components of your GEDSI approach. Just remember that the folks reviewing, the expert committee reviewing your application only knows what you share with us. So the application is your opportunity to make your work shine. Projects that are looking at multidimensional poverty reduction in this marine conservation space are likely doing great work on gender equality, disability inclusion, and social inclusion. It's a main factor of multidimensional poverty. So this is, again, an opportunity for your work to shine through, and we are very excited to hear about your innovative approaches and your new ideas to bring local solutions to local challenges. Okay, outside of this main GEDSI question, I wanted to quickly touch base on a few other areas of the application that I would recommend you consider highlighting your GEDSI approach. It's best really for it to be mainstreamed throughout the application and throughout your project components. Yes, okay, so section 1 is the details of your lead organization. There's a list of topics for your primary focus that you only select one, but if your primary focus as an organization is GEDSI, let us know. Section 2 is about project information. So if a key component of your proposed project is about supporting or partnering with a marginalized community, highlight that. Provide detailed information on the specific beneficiaries, noting women and girls, people with disabilities, Indigenous people and local communities, or other marginalized community members. Again, this is specific to your project, your context, but if you're working with a marginalized group, let us know. Section 3 is responding to expert committee feedback. So if you submitted an application last year, you might have received feedback from the expert committee. Please respond to it here. If they mentioned any strengths or areas for improvement, specifically about your gender equality and social inclusion components, highlight that here. Again, noting that the GEDSI ambition has been strengthened for round 2, including also a stronger focus on disability inclusion. Section 4 is the project approach and design. So in addition to that main GEDSI question, throughout this entire section, you can really be thinking about mainstreaming these considerations. So where possible or where relevant, can provide information, as I said, about your GEDSI considerations related to the current situation and the problem that your project aims to address. Marine conservation, multidimensional poverty, and equality and inclusion are intricately connected. Strong proposals will show their understanding of these connections. Okay, so then there's some differences between the community grant applications and partnership grants. So the monitoring, evaluation, and learning section is section 5 for community grants, section 7 for partnership grants. Within this section, think about how you're incorporating GEDSI considerations into your framework and your log frame. Include GEDSI goals and strategies within your activities and your outputs of your theory of change, maybe even it's an outcome. And note how you plan to engage project beneficiaries as stakeholders. So you can consider that stakeholder engagement spectrum if that's a helpful tool for this. For community grants, section 6. For partnership grants, section 11 is the section on project partners. So if relevant, mention if the specific expertise or experience of your project partner organizations is related to GEDSI. Okay, so then moving into stage 2, community grants will have an application. That's a bit more, it's a longer application, a bit more comprehensive, but it builds on your stage 1 application. So definitely check out the applicant guidance document and the GEDSI guidance document for more information. For community grants, if you've received any feedback from the expert committee about your GEDSI approach, make sure you respond to that and clarify here. And then there's a few additional components that you'll be submitting: your work plan, log frame, team pen portraits, and budget. So you can think about the components of your GEDSI approach and how you're going to factor those into these new pieces of the application. At this time, you'll also be asked to submit your project risk framework, your lead organization's safeguarding policy, and your lead organization's GEDSI policy. Again, please note those policies are at the level of the lead organization, not specific to this project. And then partnership grants, shortlisted applicants will be invited to an online interview to respond to questions from the expert committee. And I would just recommend that you're prepared to discuss your project's GEDSI empowering approach if you're asked about it. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me in this discussion of gender equality, disability inclusion, and social inclusion within the Ocean program. For help and support, you can contact us here at this email address, and you can find both the GEDSI ambition statement. Well, there's one document called the GEDSI ambition statement and applicant guidance, and then there's another document that's the complete applicant guidance, as well as some other guidance documents. There's one on MEL specifically. All are available on the website. And then please feel free to follow us. Here's our website, Facebook, and LinkedIn, so you can follow along for updates and more information. Again, reach out at this email address if you have questions or need help, and we're really looking forward to reading your applications. Thanks very much.